Hello, everybody. So, today we are talking about the case of John Evers Robinson. This case is another one where I have very little information, but I had just enough to make it into its own video and not put it into a mini cases one. So it will definitely be on the shorter side. But just to put it out there, there's not a whole lot of information. Definitely not a whole lot of photos. I was able to find like maybe 3 or 4, so I apologize. Also, I couldn't really find that much about who John was as a person, which I always like to do that just so people can kind of get to know them, the person, before I actually go into what happened to them. Unfortunately, I just really didn't have it this time. But I don't want to ramble on. All the links I used for research will be down below, like always, as well as a link to my Sinister Podcast here on YouTube if you'd like to check that out. And yeah, let's get into this. So on March 14th, 1990, around 8:15 a.m., John was found dead inside of a small room in an office building at 178 Temple Street in New Haven, Connecticut. That room was a rehearsal space for the band Sold on Murder, his band. It featured John on bass and vocals, Frank Linden on guitar and vocals, and John Nutcher on drums. The band was a punk band in the 80s and the 90s, founded by John Robinson. The state medical examiner determined his skull was crushed, and he was killed by several blows to the head with a blunt instrument. The weapon either wasn't found or it was never released exactly what it is, so we don't know what caused the trauma. But a drum set was missing from the scene, and it's possible that that could have a connection to the weapon. So, John Nutcher said in an interview that John Robinson may have been in debt or had some sort of a debt that he, from whatever, and that he hadn't heard from John in the weeks before he died. So it seemed like John Robinson was kind of having a harder time. John Robinson had been evicted from the building that they were doing the rehearsals in because he was behind on rent, but he kept using the room because he still had the key. So we're unsure of who exactly found the body or if he was reported missing, but a few articles state that his body had been there for several days, but that statement is unconfirmed if that's true. But some also state that he was in the downtown area on March 12th, and it's believed that he was killed on March 12th. So the dates are kind of messy, to say the least. An article from 1990 says that John Robinson rented the room out for a small fee to other local bands who needed practice space, and there's access to the room from 178 Temple Street or 928 Chapel Street, so there's multiple ways to get in. And that begs the question, who found him? Who did it? Did no one use the space for the 2 days or so that he was just there? And who stole the drum set? Whoever killed him did lock the door after, so how did the person find him? How many keys are there? The case was reopened in 2009, but it didn't bring anything new. There were some people of interest, but no charges were ever filed against these people. One article states in the last few months of his life, he was selling drugs to fund the album that they were working on, meaning it could have possibly been a drug-related murder. In another article, a baseball bat was allegedly seized for testing, but that's all we know. We don't know if anything came of that or where it was from, nothing like that. So that's kind of where the information that we know ends. And all I have left for you is a phone number from the New Haven Police Department. For anybody who has any information, you are urged to call 203 946-6304. And yeah, that is basically the extent of what we know about the case of John Robinson. So I do think it's possible that this could have been a death related to drugs or a debt, possibly some sort of debt regarding drugs. It just seems like in the months leading up to his death, he was having a hard time. He was selling out the space to other people, possibly trying to make money to kind of get ahead in the money that he owed to whoever, because we're not really sure how much he owed or to who or for what. We just know that he was in debt of sorts, and that is only stated by John Nutcher, his bandmate. But I do think it's a possibility that is definitely a drug slash debt related murder. But there's just so many questions that don't have answers. Like, whoever did this, why did they lock the door behind them? If it's used by multiple people, did literally none of these people practice in the days after? Did nobody stop by for anything? And in an article, it was mentioned, it's not like a super fast thing to pack up a drum set. So whoever took that drum set, they had to have known that no one was going to be coming by for a while. And why did they take it, So there's just so many unanswered questions, like why would you lock the door? Did this person have another key? Just so many things that could really benefit knowing, but we don't know. But we really don't have any information, and it's been years, and we might not ever have any information, but we can hope. Because it was, reopened in 2009. There's always a chance that it could be reopened again, and maybe something will come of it at that time. I would really love to know about this baseball bat that was allegedly seized for testing. Now, I said allegedly, and I saw that in one article, so I don't know how true that is, but I did want to mention that supposedly there was one taken. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think happened to John? Thank you so much for listening to his story, and I will speak to you guys very soon. Bye, guys.